way to the mic, they start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers of Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers of Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers of Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape, every one of us. I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow.
Hey y'all, welcome to this new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. So on this episode, I have an amazing conversation with TikTok gaming and wrestling personality Cresta Starr. Y'all have probably heard her and seen her do all reactions and everything, and they are really funny, so we chop it up. And I get to talk about my Alabama Comic-Con experience with the holy trinity of women's wrestling, Trish Stratus, Lita, and Mickey James. So chill out and listen to this new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. We're on the road to 100 episodes, y'all. Amazing TikTok extraordinaire who makes me laugh a lot of the time. And she also creates gaming content as well. So please welcome Miss Cresta Starr. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. I am doing well. What a great introduction. I feel so special.
Yeah, that's what I try to do for all of my guests, is to make them feel special and just give everybody, what the credentials are so they can know who you are and what you've got going on. So you're definitely worth it. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about wrestling and video games with fellow enthusiasts, nerds, whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah, I'm more of an enthusiast in terms of video games-ish a little bit, but then more so when it comes to wrestling though. So that's kind of what I sort of am into. But I just want to talk about everything, that you're into as well as my guest. So I'm going to start by asking you, when did you fall in love with wrestling?
So I've always been a fan of wrestling, way back when Stone Cold Steve Austin was terrorizing Vince McMahon. But I stopped watching wrestling around the time Ruthless Aggression era John Cena just came out, because life happened. I had to go to work and I wasn't taking off of work to get money to watch wrestling. Right. I want to say it was 2018. Me and my little brother, we didn't always get along. So we started bonding later on in life over wrestling. It was something we did as kids. And I remember seeing Nia Jax. And the last time I watched wrestling, women like her, they didn't wrestle. And the women that did wrestle, they weren't dressed like her. So I was instantly intrigued. I had already been memeing online for various video games. And I was making fun of Ronda Rousey's makeup because I think it was the Money in the Bank where I was like, girl, these makeup artists did you dirty, girl. And I just did a video on Instagram and my friend's like, you should just keep doing these. Why not? These are funny. And it just tumbled out of control. And I really started getting into the storylines and everything. And really, Becky Lynch becoming the man, that whole storyline arc, really hook, line, and sinker. And every other moving part, I needed to know more. I was addicted, if you will, to wrestling.
Yeah, I totally get it. Because it's just like, it's so funny that you mentioned Nia Jax and how she sort of, reeled you in a sense, because she does look different. Lena Fernandez, what she goes by now, of course, since she's left the WWE. But it's just like, she didn't look like all the regular girls that you would see, back in the day, like in the early 2000s and stuff like that. So it's just like, when you see someone who looks different in that way, it pulls in women who really identify more so with looking a different sort of way, because everybody doesn't look like the model. So
exactly,
so it's really good that she was able to be there. And then you also have other women like Awesome Kong, who was in wrestling as well, like who looked very different and represented, that type of woman. So it's really good. And then you mentioned Becky Lynch and the Man. Of course, that was a whole thing. Even though I kind of miss old Becky when she was like, there was a whole period where she was calling herself the last kicker, and she was much nicer. And she was more so of an underdog. So it was just kind of like, okay, well, I love this. I love that Becky. This Becky, on the other hand, like the Man Becky, that was really cool and it was really badass, right? But then you also have this Becky, big time Becky, that's just a little bit obnoxious. But I know she's doing that just for fun. But at the same time, it's like you gotta admire her and her ability to transform. So I do like that a lot.
No, absolutely. I think that the reason why I gravitate towards Becky Lynch as far as her as a wrestler is something like what you just said here. You can see her come from one character to another character to another character, whether she's the underdog at the top of her game or absolutely delusional.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So would you say she's your favorite horsewoman out of the four?
Honestly, I have a respect for all four of them for different reasons. I can't say if it's between her and Sasha Banks. There's different times where I'm like, wow, I really like this one, wow, I really like that one. So it's a tie. In between her and Sasha Banks. I know we don't like a tie, but it's a tie.
Hey, I agree with that. I completely respect that. If it's a tie, it's a tie. I love them all for various reasons as well, but Sasha Banks is definitely my number one. She is my number one, and I miss her so much. But I mean, we'll probably get into that a little bit later. So when did you fall in love with video games?
I have been playing the lore starts that I've been playing video games since Duck Hunt. There's pictures of my dad holding me up to the screen with the Nintendo Blaster trying to shoot the ducks. I've always loved video games. Growing up, I was bullied, so I didn't have a lot of friends, but I could play video games where no one could bully me. Plus, I had two brothers. My little brother and my older brother would rip the heads off my dolls.
Oh, God.
But true awfulness. But if they needed help in a puzzle, come here, fix this. I'm like, I don't want to. And then I end up doing it. And next thing you know, they'd fall asleep and I got the controller. And this is me, 3 a.m. in the morning, playing Super Metroid or Mario Kart or something, just up all night. And it evolved and it really spiraled out of control with World of Warcraft.
Wow. So that's crazy. So basically it all just started, with you, playing Duck Hunt, and then it transitioned further into you having a place to go in a safe space because you were being bullied.
Yeah, kids are awful, and later on in life, you see some of these people, whether it be social media or you see them just in regular life, and you come to find out that you guys had so many things in common, and I was able to create friends, whether it be imaginary when I was younger, and as I got older, the information age started popping off and everybody was on the internet. I've made tons of friends I've never met across the world, and I didn't mind not going outside. Why would I go outside and get bullied when I could stay inside and bully some boars? No one gets hurt if I kill these boars.
Yeah, that is true. And it's good. I know the further I look into video games, even through my boyfriend and also through watching Xavier Woods' channel, Up, Down, Down, and hearing interviews of various people, even wrestlers, even not people who aren't wrestlers. It's like video games really do help people and actually, give people a feeling of feeling accomplished at something once they finish a whole game, or they really like the story, or just for various reasons, it just gives them, the ability to sort of escape. And that's really valid. So kudos to you for finding that, sort of community in a sense that helps you sort of feel, like you have a safe space to be when the world can be kind of trash. I totally get it. And wrestling in a sense can be, that sort of place as well. So I totally 100% get it. And just the idea that your brothers tore up your dolls. Oh my God.
Listen, I
That's
have
so
two
funny.
brothers and I love them both now. But growing up with two brothers, if you are the only girl, hell, that's what it is. I love them now, the house now, but it was terrible growing up. And to touch on your point about wrestling, there's a community there. I've met so many cool people, so many cool women who like wrestling, because especially as a girl, girls don't like that. Some girls get it. The girls who get it, and the girls who don't. And when you're around the girls who get it, it's a beautiful feeling because you can be passionate. You can be loud without someone saying, that's fake. It's like,
Right.
let me enjoy my thing.
Like, don't say that. That's a bad word. It's just like on Young Rock where they said, don't say the F word in their family. That's the F word. Do not say wrestling is fake because it ain't.
Let us be great. Right.
Let us be happy. So, did you ever face any teasing about you loving video games or even teasing because you love wrestling?
Not from my brothers because we all had camaraderie over at least that. But in school, I was bullied for everything. So it didn't matter that I liked video games. Once I got out of school in my 20s, absolutely. There were friends or people who I considered close friends who were like, oh my God, you still play video games and you're this old? You're going to be like 50. What are you, a child? And it's annoying. And it's like, at first I was offended and then I'm like, I get it. It's hard to see someone else chasing their dreams, knowing that you don't have the courage to do it yourself. And I would want the best for you, but I'm not going to let you project that onto me. I'm going to keep persevering. I'm going to keep pushing through, and people are going to talk about you, whether you are doing great or bad. And never directly for wrestling. If anything, I've had people talk condescending to me, like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then when I give it back to them, the way they give it to me, it's now I'm a bully. No, I just know how to cut a promo.
Exactly. Like, that is exactly the type of energy that I love because it's just like, I know people feel that way about me because I love Disney movies even still. Because like I'm 28 years old and I will talk about Disney movies with like people who are like kids or like teenagers who are still into it. Like just recently, I had one of the best conversations about Encanto with a teenager, and it's like her mom was kind of just looking at me like, bro, you're almost 30 years old, why do you and I'm sitting here like, because it's good and I actually have something that makes me happy. And if you really think about Encanto, there's lots of adult stuff in that movie that is just really deep once you get past the cartoon of it all. And it's just like, these stories, are very valid even in your adult lives, and it doesn't stop, just because you reach a certain age and you just want to, pretend like, oh, I'm old and I can't be into this. Oh no, that's not true. Because how else do kids get into stuff? Because they see the adults in their lives into it.
Very true.
So
I think it's also the community as well. And I think that's very important. And some adults lose that when they get older because you think you have to be an adult a certain way. But if your bills are paid and you're not committing a crime, what's the problem? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just weird to see other adults like, we're all grown. Why are we trying to bully each other? Do better. Want better for yourself.
Exactly. It makes no sense. Like, let people love what they're going to love and understand that there's more than one way to be a person. So I totally get that. But I'm also glad that you found a way to sort of rise above that in saying that that's just other people sort of projecting their insecurities onto you. And that's not fair. So, ultimately, I feel like we should all just be adults about our insecurities and take care of them, via therapy or any other ways that you can, and not project them onto other people because it's not fair to other people in their journey.
It's hard for adults to admit that they need help, especially when you've been told that things need to be done one sort of way. And I am a big proponent of maybe get therapy or at least reflect on the inside and be able to say, hey, maybe I was wrong. I don't think there's any right way to be an adult. Right. And I think that when you pigeonhole yourself into being some sort of adult or something like that, you you miss out on fun. You miss out on the things
Yeah.
that you used to like. And then for what? To give off the appearance that you are like, and the people who that matters to, they don't care about you ultimately. You know what I mean? So be happy, do you, and don't yuck somebody else's yum. And if you feel yourself doing that, maybe you need to look on the inside, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it about them being happy that makes you unhappy?
Exactly. So what would you say is your favorite video game of all time and why?
Easy. The Legend of Dragoon. I have an emotional connection to that game. And I guess the way I feel about that game is how most people feel about Final Fantasy VII. It was my first video game, perm death. It had a lot of deep meaning, like, just because you think who the bad guy is, that's not really the bad guy. It's good plot twist. The end game, what's that thing called? The end game cutscene. At the time, animation was 10 out of 10. The story, I loved it. It was a long game. It was like literally my first game I think I played the whole summer growing up because it was long, 4 discs. And a close second is Tetris Attack because it's mindless and I could just beat up on people.
Wow, a 4-disc video game.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend that game. It is really good. My only critique of the game is that it's really hard to avoid combat because I think it's like if I remember correctly, it's random combat. But Legend of Dragoon, I would play it over and over and over and over again. It's just long.
Yeah, I totally get it. You know, even though I didn't grow up with consoles like a lot of people did in their houses, like PlayStations and Xboxes and stuff, I find that I would have fun going out to arcades and stuff or places with arcades.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to play Guitar Hero. And I also love Just Dance because I would go over other people's houses and they would have consoles and I would do Just Dance with them or at the store or something like that. And then I also love Street Fighter. Like me and my boyfriend had so much fun playing Street Fighter 5 when he got it. And it was like and Tekken 7 because that's one of the games that I find is the easiest for me to play because I can just press buttons and see what works. And
love that.
And then once I get something that works, you know, like I actually got really good at Tekken, you know, over the course of a couple of months. But somehow Street Fighter 5 I really didn't get that good at. Like I'm okay at it, but I'm not as good at it as I am at Tekken.
As long as you're having fun, I think that's the ultimate goal. Whether you want to compete and have fun or just be casually good fun. As long as you're having fun, I think that's the goal of video games. And if a video game is making you mad, put it down. Walk away. Walk away.
Exactly.
Yay.
Exactly. And sometimes you do get frustrated, you know, but you know, it's just you just have to take a deep breath and not do that. Because I think I threw one of my boyfriend's controllers one time and he just cut the game off. He was like, no, we're not gonna do this. You're not gonna return on my stuff.
I have not played first-person shooters since SOCOM. That's a really old PlayStation game. I threw my controller at the TV because I was so mad because someone was camping the stairs. They were glitching in the stairs. So the kill cam was the stairs. I'm like, are you kidding? I have never touched a first-person shooter ever since.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, if I have to throw a controller, it's time to walk away. Yay.
I think I'm gonna be singing that for the rest of the week. Gotta walk away, yay.
If it's getting on your nerves, like walk away, yay.
Exactly. So as you've sort of built your brand around, you know, loving wrestling and reacting to things and also loving video games as well, have you faced any obstacles as you've been building your brand?
Absolutely. I'm going to say this openly. Financially, it's rough. Yeah. It is very rough trying to create unbiasedly and beautifully and something that's not harmful, that just inspires conversation. It's not cheap and it's hard. It's rough. I do love all the doors that video games have opened and subsequently wrestling has opened. I got to meet many people and I have a chance now to chase my dreams for real, and I'm very, very, very happy about that. It's just expensive. Living in general is expensive, and this is 10 times as harder, because I'm sure you get it with the computers and the equipment, and then you got to upgrade your equipment, and then if there's a con or a meet and greet, you got to go do the interviews, you got to make sure that you can get the bus tickets and the hotel, feel like Lady Gaga, club, plane, another club. That's literally what you have to do if you are trying to make it happen. And when you see the fruits of your labor, even if it's a tiny seed, you're like, but you're in debt.
Right.
I know somewhere, somebody, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, whoever, I will take your blessings. It's going to pay off. And that's what I keep telling myself. It's going to pay off. And I see it moving slowly, but the biggest obstacle is financial. I will say there are undertones of racism and misogyny, because a lot of people think because I'm a woman, especially a Black woman, and, oh, you haven't been watching. I don't listen to that. I'm not saying that it's not there, but to quote Megan Thee Stallion, you know better than let me hear you, because I'm going to push the door open, and once I come, everybody else is coming. Unproblematic people, let me rephrase that. Unproblematic people are coming. I feel like you can't be racist or misogynistic and love wrestling or video games, something that has vast, diverse, and enriching stories of other races, not just humans. You got merfolk, you got Draenei. If you play World of Warcraft, you have these things. So to me, those people, you're gonna talk, and at the end of the day, go over there. Because we're going to make progress, and you're going to meddle over there, and people are going to keep changing. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. So,
yes, I absolutely agree with all of that, because it's so funny you just brought up conventions, and I was just at one, except it was local, because I'm from Alabama, so it's just it was my first time ever doing Alabama Comic-Con as a vendor, and it was fun. Yeah, it was absolutely fun. I enjoyed it. I actually got to meet some people who do listen to my podcast and, have that exposure for other people who might not have known about it before. And it is a lot financially. And it is a lot, in the wrestling world, it's really rough as a content creator, because you also have people who try to use, racist and other type of language at you to try to undermine where you're gonna go. Like, I've even had people, whenever I've come out in support of a certain person who just so happens to be a Black woman, like, say for instance Big Swole at the very beginning of this year, when she was going through everything she was going through with AEW, and her speaking out on the issues that she had with diversity and stuff, I had people saying unkind things to me in comments that basically led to them saying, oh, well, your podcast is just small and it's never going to grow from anything, and it's just going to never matter and all this other stuff, and get mad whenever I would post anything about Black History Month. But I was told a long time ago, like, you have to, tell your truth, and if it makes people mad, then those are people who weren't meant to listen to you in the first place. So that shout out to Janelle from the HR from Jobber Tears podcast. She said that to me. And I've been taking that and I've been running with it ever since. And it's been doing good for me so far, because it's like, this past weekend was really huge in terms of being able to meet some of my favorite women's wrestling heroes, Trish Stratus, Lita, and Mickie James.
Nice.
And being able to ask them questions and get encouragement from them, and all the things I do in wrestling. So that meant the world to me. But I also know, as a Black woman, I am very aware of what can happen. But at the same time, I also know that the higher power that I believe in didn't give me the ability to have this platform for no reason. So
come on now.
So I'm here, and anyone who loves the fact that I'm here, they can listen to it, and they can listen to you, and it'll be okay. So whoever it's meant for is whoever it's meant for.
Exactly. And those people they're not gonna pay your bills. All they're gonna try to do is get your lights shut off. So
but they can't do that, because we have the power,
Period.
So we have the power, and as long as we have the power, that's all that matters. So, is there anyone that you sort of look to as an entity for inspiration or encouragement as you build your brand and as you find your voice in video gaming and in wrestling?
So when I first started interviewing people under video games, when people would interview me, I would always tell them I wanted to be the Oprah of video games. I would look up to people like Oprah, and as I've gone on this journey, I want to be the first Cresta. I want to build a community around people who like more than one thing. So I do look to people like Oprah Winfrey, who's able to take her brand and extend it beyond just a talk show. I look to everyone, to be honest with you. I look at people because everyone in this world, in my opinion, is a lesson if you can learn and extrapolate from them, because you can see what other people are doing in the role where you want to be and where they messed up. You can see where people excelled at. You can see where the person was on the precipice of greatness and then where they failed. And if you want to follow in their footsteps, if you can take away for whatever they failed at and improve upon it, you can take these lessons and learn. You can consistently learn. So I also look at other Black women. I'm gonna keep it 100% with you. My grandma is one of the toughest women that I know, and I'm like, if she can do it and raise everybody kids and her kids and me and my brothers, if my grandma could do it, I could do something. I gotta do something. You know what I mean? And look at all the other women who have tried to come before me and may or may not have failed. The ones who have succeeded and quote unquote sold out. Who cares? Like, where can I learn from that? Where can I take it and apply it to myself and press forward and be the best possible version of myself? Like, when I look at female professional wrestlers, I look at all of them and I say, wow, I love Jade's hustle. I love Sunny Kiss's conviction. I love Trish Stratus's innovation. There's so many things about them that, like, unless you were like a crappy person in real life, like for real, there's something about you that I'm going to draw inspiration from, because you can do it. So can I, because you were probably a regular, schmegular girl like me. You know what I mean? So you can take it from anybody. Everyone should inspire you. To me, everyone should be able, you can at least learn from them. So come on, Oprah.
Exactly. Like, I love that, because Oprah's the standard when it comes to the media. Like, when it comes to Black women in media, she is the standard. She is the bar, you know? But then you also see so many other women, you know, making their own way. Like, you have Tamron Hall. And for me, another person that I get inspiration from it has nothing to do with wrestling and a little bit to do with media is Tabitha Brown. Because she has gone so far with just being herself.
She's smart.
And she's smart. Like, she's smart, and then she's also spiritually sound. And that's something I just really love about her. She's just really sweet. And it just seems, and she works really hard. And she has worked so hard, you know, to get to where she's at. And you just see her in everything, like in spices and clothes and books and hair care and kids programming. Like, you see her in everything. And it's just like, you know, I think I might want to be that type of a person. But either way, you know, you're right. There's inspiration that can be taken from anybody, whether it be you're learning what to do or what not to do. But at the end of the day, you know, it's always important to have an open mind and be a student. You can't just be a know-it-all in everything and think, you know, you got all the answers, because you'll find out you ain't got all the answers.
Like, if you had all the answers, you wouldn't be asking me silly questions, and you'd be rich upon the mountain most high. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn from everyone. Everyone is a lesson. Everyone is a lesson.
Yeah. So what other hobbies do you have outside of gaming and outside of wrestling?
So I am a fan of ballroom, like legendary voguing. I am an avid supporter of the LGBTQ. I try to support them as much as humanly possible. As an ally, I think it's important to use your voice to help people. If you are in a place of privilege, if you can, help someone if you see them being marginalized, even if you're marginalized yourself. And I enjoy going to learning ballroom culture. I enjoy drag culture. I like food. I enjoy eating. And also, like, if you give me, like, I'm a tinkerer at heart. I like to build things. I like to do a lot of sketch comedy. I'm a clown. I like to entertain people. So when I'm not getting lost in sports entertainment or video game entertainment, I want to make people laugh. Because as a bullied person, I feel like if we can at least laugh just for a split second, because the world is rough, but for a split second, if you can feel like, wow, this girl is silly. You got me, gal. Come on now. You got to take what you can. The small victories.
Yeah, definitely. I get it. It's so funny you brought up ballroom culture because, like, it's so funny you brought that up because I miss the TV show Pose so much.
I never watched it.
Oh my God.
I was working so much. It's the worst when you want to watch things. By the time you come home from work, this is you.
Right.
Dead on arrival.
Yeah, I get it. And it's just that really the first time I had heard anything about ballroom culture was from that show. And though I am an advocate for the LGBTQIA plus community myself, I just didn't know about it because, you know, I'm from, I live in Alabama. So there's really only so much, but then there's all the other stuff that you don't know. So when I saw this show and saw how, glamorous a lot of the outfits were and the characters and everything, I was like, this looks good. And so I got into it and never quit watching. And I watched like all 3 seasons because the stories of these people and what they've been through and how they rise above in order to create something beautiful is just something I will always admire and just love. And it made me want to go back and learn some things in history that I had never known before. It's amazing. And I love how we're having this conversation in this Pride Month. It's just really important. And I just love that you're into that and seeing shows like Legendary on HBO Max, get the, attention that it deserves, along with continuing to see shows like RuPaul's Drag Race continue to thrive and give, attention to so many beautiful people in that community. Like, it's really great. It's grand. And I'm glad that we're having that. And even in wrestling, where we're getting more people of various, inclusive, in various sexualities and stuff like that and identities. It's great. And it shows that the world is evolving past, what it used to be. And of course, there's always, room for improvement. And now I can't specifically speak on it from that perspective. Yeah. But, there's always room for improvement. But, I'm glad that we are going somewhere with that. And I think that that's cool that you're into that. I've never seen a ball physically. Like, I would love to. But one day I hope I can see one physically. But,
I would say if you liked Pose, there was a show that came out on Vice called My House that follows a few people that have already been on Legendary. This was before Legendary, way back in the day. And that's when I really first saw what ballroom was, because I'm an old lady. I'm 35. I'm not ashamed to say it.
That's not old.
Some people are like, Grandma, you got the rickets, but here I am, knees intact. I've been following Leomi since America's Best Dance Crew when she was on there. And to me, the way this woman, her body and gravity just doesn't, they don't talk to each other. The way she just effortlessly moves, it's just crazy to me. And then when you get to hear that they dance and that the ballroom culture is just so beautiful, and then hearing the struggles that these people go through, it really makes you really put your life in perspective. Like, damn, you know what I mean?
Right.
Damn, just be nice to one another. Be kind, because you really never know what someone else is going through. And help out and support if you can. Because honestly, we can argue, and arguing will just get you talking in circles and worked up for no reason. In the words of He Who Shall Not Be Named, don't work yourself into a shoot, brother.
Right.
Just help. Be nice. There's no point in being a jerk, because what? To prove what? For what?
Exactly.
And plus the dance moves, so good. Right.
That's the kind of stuff that I feel like you almost can't even teach. And if you do teach it, it's it'll take so much work to get it together, right?
I took 2 ballroom classes. 2, my body was sore for weeks. Weeks. That's why I think that drag and wrestling are on the same spectrum, just on opposite sides.
Uh-huh.
The physicality that it takes to do both, that's why I respect all of the performers, all of them, because I could, even the ones you may not like in kayfabe, you may not like the wrestler, but you gotta respect the talent. Because you couldn't run the ropes, you couldn't throw yourself on the floor. And I know people who I grew up with who are independent wrestlers. You cannot do what they do. So dislike the character. Don't be weird to the person. It's wrestling. I want you to dislike the character, especially if I'm a heel or a heater. I want you to. But once you get weird on your keyboard, like, that's weird, because you could never. Like, and literally, if you got in the ring, then it's like, now he's a bully or she's a bully. Like, don't do that. Like, don't do that.
Right. And it's just like, these people do all these superhuman things. Like, and you just, it's like, I just respect them so much, because it's just like, they do this. And not only do they do this once, they do this like maybe 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 times a week.
I take a chair to the knee and I'm down for a month. What are you talking about?
Right. I bumped my toe into a chair leg, and then I just got to sit down for like 15 or 20 minutes. No. Oh my gosh. These people, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing, and we should respect them.
Truly, absolutely.
Exactly. So, when did you decide? Well, actually, pause. Let me ask another question. Okay. You talked about, in the indies. Have you been to an independent show before?
Okay, so funny story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I met a wrestler. The first time I met a pro wrestler, I did not have a good experience, and I've been scared crackless ever since. Oh. And then I reclaimed my power. And I'm like, I'm going to start going out to shows, because heck that. You, somebody who probably don't even know I exist, is not going to determine what I'm going to do with my life. But the only show I ever got to go to, I took my little brother to WrestleCon. And the second time I met a wrestler, that was the second time I met some wrestlers. So I got to meet JTG and Shad Gaspar before he passed. And they were incredibly nice. And it really made me like, just because you had one bad experience with one person, they could just be a jerk. They could be having a bad night. Maybe you could have been an annoying fan. Who knows? But don't let that person, who again doesn't even know you exist, make you want to be like, I don't want to go to shows. Because I don't want to. Because I would hate to be that annoying fan that someone has to tweet about, like, no, you were asking. I would hate. I would be mortified. So I was like, I don't want. If it's just me yelling at my screen, that's what it's gonna be. But I'm like, you know what? I feel like maybe it was a misunderstanding, or maybe he was just a jerk. But who cares? I'm going to go to shows. I'm going to have a good time. Heck you.
Right. You can't let, even though I understand that having a bad experience, does put a sour taste in your mouth. You're just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I belong here, or and you have all these thoughts in your mind, and you sort of, try to go back and replay what you could have done differently. Like, that's something I do a lot. You can't really just let that stop you. So I'm glad that you were able to go back and have a good experience, and then to have an experience with Crime Time too. That's really cool.
The nicest guys, truly the nicest guys ever. The nicest people, the nicest. I cannot stress that enough. It is rest in peace, Shad Gaspar. You were the nicest guy. It was a pleasure meeting him, and JT, the nicest people.
Yeah, I'm glad that you had that experience. And also, let me just say, let me just be a woman for a second. I believe JTG is fine. He is so fine. I just have to let it go. I just have to let it go and just be
a woman. There's another reason why I watch wrestling.
He's so fine. Like, now, mind you, when Crime Time was in WWE, I felt like he was okay. But the older he's gotten, and he got that beard going, he got thicker, and I'm just like, whoa. He is fine.
Like, I am looking respectfully.
I am looking at JTG respectfully. He is fine. So I just had to say that. So I just had to get that out there. Just love and respect to him. because Shad was his brother, and that was a deeply sad loss. But I believe that Shad's soul is in a much better place. I really believe that. So I'm glad you had that great experience, though. So when was the first time you realized that what you were doing and the content that you were creating was resonating with others?
When my first TikTok reached 1 million views, because I don't even know how that happened. And I was gooped, gagged, bamboozled, because I had been streaming for like I've been doing this now, content creation, whether it be for video game, well, mostly for video games, and now for wrestling in the past 3 years, for 10 years now. And I told myself when I was younger, like, I want to be famous. And it was like, you ain't want to be famous. People shame you for not, for wanting that. I had been streaming games, and there were high moments, but none of my content reached the height that this had. And it was the Randy Orton video when he gave Edge the concerto, right when Edge came back after they were hyping up how they surgically repaired Edge's neck.
Yeah.
I was just yelling like I always do into the void, like I do on Instagram and Twitter and Twitch. And I was just like, I can't believe it. And then people were like, yo, she thinks this is real. I'm like, what? As I'm reading the comments, they're like, LOL, people still thinking it's real. I'm like, wait a minute, are you guys getting worked up? And it just became a meme until the meme became real life. I worked myself into a shoot, into a work, into a shoot, into a work. Because now I realize that not you guys, let me rephrase that. Now I realize that people, if you like wrestling, you probably have a tie to it from when you were younger, or there's a specific storyline that you could go back to and say, this is what got me, gal. And then you watched, especially just WWE. And it can be frustrating. One thing I've been saying all week is that I have speech at 100. If you ever played games, you can put your speech up. That's me at 100. I can talk. And sometimes people don't understand what they're watching, and you'd rather have someone explain to you what happens, because what they're telling you on wrestling TV, you like, come on now. And it's funny. People want to laugh. You remember watching wrestling and laughing. Granted, the Attitude Era, as much as we remember it fondly, was wildly problematic.
It was.
We laughed, and you can still have that laughter. You can still be wild, but not problematic. And I think that I only use the WWE in this example because so many people point to wrestling and say, that's wrestling, that's professional wrestling, and that's okay. We all grew up on it. But WWE has a problem of doing the same storyline over and over. So it's like, if you're going to play in my face, you're going to get these jokes. I'm laughing. And everyone's laughing with me. So when I react, I'm reacting as someone who's there in the moment. Like, I'm following the storyline. This is Days of Our Lives, but with the chair shots and garbage cans and steel cages. I'm in the storyline. Yes, of course, I know it's scripted things. You don't have to tell me for the 80th time. But at the same time, I can't defend you, WWE, when you're putting dog poop on Roman Reigns. What am I supposed to do here? How am I going to tell my friends to watch this? And they tune in and they look at me like this. This is what you watch, Cresta? What am I supposed to do? So if you go play in my face, you get these jokes. And people like the jokes. So at that moment, I was like, now I felt like Diddy. I can't stop now.
Right.
I have to keep doing this. And the more I kept doing it, even when wrestling felt like, oh my God, what am I watching? I was able to find a deeper appreciation and a deeper love for wrestling. Sometimes it's not all about what you think. Sometimes you got to think about the backstage. Sometimes you got to think about all the other things that go into it. And you're like, you know what? This may not have been what I wanted to watch, but it's okay. Maybe I just needed to suspend my disbelief just a little bit more. You'll find something to like about it. So, I mean, unless they're treating their people wow bad, and then you can have a fair and honest critique about it, not a disingenuous one. But once people were like, these are funny, as wrestling fans who get it, again, if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't. It's a living meme. And I can't stop now. If I want that fame, Starr, and people get famous for less, let me at least be famous for being partially funny. Let me get something.
Yes. I get it, because I remember, I don't even, you know what? I'm trying to think, what was the very first video I saw of yours? And I think it probably was that when you was reacting to Randy Orton. And I was just like, this girl is going ham. I love it. Like, she's really into it. Like, I really, like, you were into it the way I'd be into it, except I'd be like, oh my God, like, this is happening.
Because you can't believe it. You're like, what is...
Like, I felt like that Monday when Edge and when Edge got kicked out of Judgment Day. I was shook.
I was laughing to myself. I'm sorry, go ahead. I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. And then I felt like that yesterday when I was watching NXT and Apollo Crews popped up. I was like, whoa! You know, like, that freaked me out. So I was like, okay. But, you know, I felt like you and I were just kind of like kindred in the sense that, okay, she's into it, I'm into it, we're not alone. This is what I need. Okay.
Like, why not be a fan? Have a good time. Like, come on, let's just get in. To quote Doja Cat, get into it, yeah. Just get into it. It's fun. Once you suspend your disbelief and know that this is just this, it's a ton of fun. Or it's not. Like, I don't know. The girls who get it. The girls who don't, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't take it seriously like all the time. You know, like,
period.
It's serious because you love it, of course, but at the same time, you still have to enjoy yourself. Like, the goofy stuff is still fun. So, excuse me, I need to stand up. Like, the goofy stuff. The goofy stuff is still fun, you know, if you just relax and just laugh about it.
Exactly.
So how exactly do you feel about the state of wrestling now? And what do you think could be good? And what do you think could be improved upon? This is across all brands. It doesn't have to be just WWE or just AEW, but just across the whole spectrum of wrestling.
Sorry, I had to cough. I apologize for that. I think, first I want to start with what I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love the inception of AEW. I feel like watching WWE all those years ago and now watching WWE after AEW's inception, there has been a slight quality upgrade in WWE, whether it's reactionary or not. And Roman Reigns going from dog food, like I mentioned on him, to being Becky Lynch champ, getting the Usos champ. I mean, I don't like the stranglehold on all the belts, but from whence he came, but Roman Reigns getting booed because people thought you were boring, to now getting booed because you're a heel the way you're supposed to get booed, this superb. AEW, I like that AEW came in and heard what people were saying, what they don't like about professional wrestling, and said, I am going to give you what you guys want. I'm going to give you what you want. And we're going to make it hard-hitting matches. We're going to make it believable. And we're going to give WWE a run for its money to make WWE put on good shows, good products. I like the presentation. I like the overall diversity that AEW has. Impact, to me, has the best representation of women's wrestling. They just need a better TV deal or something. I don't know. I want more people watching Impact now. I have a whole new profound respect for just their entire roster in general. And people who watch Impact generally, I have found that people who are fans of Impact are nice. AEW and WWE, for whatever reason, suffers from tribalism, and Impact fans are just nice people. They're like, hey, you watch Impact? Great. And the guys and gals who wrestle on Impact bust their ass. And to me, they don't look like nobody else on any other product. Nobody, like that whole roster, no matter where you are on the spectrum, they're so diverse. And I respect Impact for that. Now let's go to the bad. I want WWE to GYST, get its stuff together. It really needs to get its stuff together because you've got the legacy. You've got all these amazing players. And I see the same 12 people on TV. And if you're going to use the same 12 people, use them wisely. You know, like, I will never know what it's like to write for WWE. Unless you want to hire me, Vince McMahon, I don't care. I'm a shill. I'll do it. I'll write. So, like, like, I'll never know what it's like, but I feel like there's got to be more to life than Cedric Alexander keep begging the Hurt Business for another shot after they beat him up 80 times. There's got to be more to life than this. They can't be Ciampa randomly beating people up. The same Ciampa who was tearing it up in NXT, there's got to be more to life than that. There's got to be. There's got to be. So now I go to AEW. AEW Women's Division, you've got all of the chess pieces, but not enough chessboard. You give the women 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you need someone to help book, look, Tony, I'm here. I don't care. The highest bidder. Come on, let's go. Let's get it. Let's get this bread. But also, AEW needs, I don't know if they need to restructure. Rampage absolutely needs to be 2 hours. You got a lot of people, and some people are getting lost in the shuffle. It's kind of sad that we only see Lance Archer right when there's a new champion and he needs to beat a monster, and then we don't see Lance Archer again unless you watch Elevation or Dark. That's not fair to Lance Archer, bro. Brian Cage. There's so many people that you have that are phenomenal talent, but there's literally not enough TV time. You guys have great stories, except for the women. What is Thunder Rosa doing? Come on now. That's just a critique I have, and I have faith. Unlike WWE, I have faith in AEW. Be like, my fault, I'm gonna get it together. My critique of Impact, again, is I want them to be on ABC, NBC, something where more people can get their eyes on it. More people need to see that wrestling doesn't have to be just 1, 2, or 3. There's so many things. Overall, I think wrestling is on a rise. There is a new, renewed interest in it. It went from, wrestling's fake to, oh, well, I heard Roman Reigns got all the championships, or, oh, what is this AEW business? There's more people talking about it, and that's wonderful because I want people to get invested. I want the professionals, the performers themselves to be able to have healthcare, be able to get everything that they need to do this for a long term. I don't want people to be 50 and then can't walk. You know what I mean? So the more people get the eyes on it, the more profitable it becomes. And the more profitable it becomes, the people who I like watching, whether it's Alexa Bliss or Adam Cole or Samoa Joe, I know that these guys are now getting more people to like them, more people to go out and support them, more kids who now want to become wrestlers. So if you have kids and your kids, if they won't have a Hardy Boys, they'll have a private party, or they'll have whoever comes after that. So there's camaraderie. There's always going to be a community to inspire young wrestlers. So it's on a rise. I want more people to talk about it. So there's more people like me and you having a passionate conversation about wrestling the entertainment side and wrestling the human side, so the humans can get paid more. Because these are actors. These are stunt women and men. These are people who do so much. And the more people who are into it, the more that they can get, so they can perform at an even higher level, so they can perform and be comfortable and take care of their family, and not I gotta work until I'm 99 and my arm literally has to fly off in a match. So
wow. Yeah, that is all really good, profound stuff that you said, and it's real. There's always, of course, room for improvement, but all the good things about wrestling, it is, it does have renewed interest with different deals that they may have in various streaming, platforms, and of course more television shows and stuff like that. But there is the improvement that it can have. So all of that, everything that you said is 100% valid. I'm really with you on that. Seriously, that was really good. I feel like I learned something, so that was really good. So do you believe that representation among Black women in gaming and in wrestling is in a good place, or do you feel like it could be better?
It could absolutely be better, because I'll give you an example of Jade Cargill. Even if Jade Cargill was brand new, the harassment that she got at the very beginning was ridiculous. Yes, she was able to flip it and say, oh, I'm green, my hair is green, and you know what else is green? Money. You tried it. But there are some other wrestlers who are who were and still are just as new, if not newer than she is. Jade Cargill improves every match. There are some people who are in the same place, and y'all don't give them flat just because they are white or white presenting. And it's if you're a woman, you already have your standards way high. And then to put yourself on the internet where people feel that they can say whatever they want to you whenever they want, and then being a Black woman, and there's so many things that I feel like if there was more representation, It's okay to be absolutely gorgeous. I'm not saying that. But if you have women who are absolutely gorgeous, show absolutely gorgeous women all over the spectrum, not just one kind of woman. Because to me, it's like you can have it all. Wrestling truly shows that you can have it all. You can have a man who is 8'8" wrestle a dinosaur. So you mean to tell me there's only one type of girl who wrestles? Stop it. Like, stop it. I think representation matters for not just Black women, but like all women, because as a Black woman, I can say a lot of the times I can at least see, I don't like saying it like that because then I sound like, oh, it's the bare minimum, you know what I mean? But like, I think about women who are Native American, who are Asian, who see less of themselves, you know what I mean? Who are Southeast Asian, who see less of themselves, who are African, who see less of themselves, you know? So as I'm like, there are people from all over the world, beautiful wrestlers who do amazing stunts and tricks. It'd just be nice. It'd be nice to see all types of women, especially Black women. And I'm gonna even go ahead and say, especially dark-skinned Black women, especially that, because I feel like sometimes you get pigeonholed into you got to look this way in order to be presented this way. But if you look this way, you're a joke. You know, it's getting better. You know, there's a lot of diverse bodies, diverse voices wrestling, but it can be better in other places, not just one place or two places. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I hope I didn't sound long-winded. I'm so sorry.
You didn't. No, you didn't. Like, everything you said was on point, and you're right. You know, there should be better representation all around for all women. You know, and it's just we've come so far, but what's so sad is just that amongst the fandom, it seems as if sometimes there are some members of the fandom who aren't as accepting to different types of women. And it's so sad because it's just like all of these women, we're all here. So what is your issue? And it's a personal issue, but at the same time, you know, the production should, you know, evolve to make it appear that way, to appear that the world is as diverse as, you know, it should be on television. So everything you said was absolutely true. And I do respect the fact that you know, mentioned all women, you know, including darker skinned Black women as well. You know, you basically ran the gamut of all women. So so I'm okay with that. Like, that's really good. And I'm glad that you actually mentioned that. Now, what has been your favorite wrestling moment so far?
That's easy.
To
all
react
time.
to. Mm-hmm.
My favorite. Oh, okay. Wait. So my favorite. I'll give you three. My favorite of all time: Stone Cold Steve Austin pouring cement in Vince McMahon's Corvette. 10 out of 10. That's the funniest. Even to this day, that's the funniest thing in the whole wide world. In a close second is the Steiner Math promo, because I damn near know that verbatim.
Well, can you say it?
Probably not, because now that you put me on the spot, the Alzheimer's is getting me. I told you I was old.
Girl, no.
My favorite moment to react to that I've done, when Britt Baker, oh my God, I'm trying to think who she gave the lockjaw to. It was early in AEW's career. She gave the lockjaw to some girl, like 2 million views on my TikTok, and the girl was bleeding. And when I say, like, it looked like it was an accident and you were just accentuated. But when I say the comments were, oh, they were worked up, that was the funniest thing to me. It's like, what if someone did that to you? And I said, well, Britt Baker's a dentist, so it's fine. When I say they were worked up, at that point, I knew if I was ever a wrestler, I gotta be a heel. Because that was funny, because you guys really thought that this woman was hurt. But then in the next video, you're telling me wrestling's fake? There was the fun. That was the top 10. Number one moment to react to when people just getting worked up over nothing. And my last favorite moment to react to, honestly, anything MJF does, because he's a jerk. Lord. But I will say, this man is living the gimmick, and I'm here for it. Like at some point, I just look at it like, yo, this is art. This is performance art. This is art. Like it's art at this point. It's art because I'm confused.
Right.
Am I getting words? Am I a mark? This is art. I'm getting.
Yeah, like, or am I the person that he's talking about in terms of being a know-it-all? Like,
You bit sweet on Twitter. You're like,
right? Like,
me.
do I need to stop? Like, help! Like, that whole promo knocked my socks off. I was like, God dang, MJF. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. All right. All right. So, has any wrestling superstar ever seen any of your work so far?
Okay, so I was recently banned on Twitter. Shout out to WWE India and Fight TV. So, but I know before that was banned that Zelina Vega has seen my work. Chris Bay follows me on TikTok and I follow him. So I know some people have seen my work. Other people may or may not, and even if so, it's like, if it makes you laugh, great. That's why I always watch my mouth too. Cause what am I going to do if I like say something really wild and then Alexa Bliss shows up at my door. She's probably going to scoop slam me and now I'm embarrassed. And then some people who forget that. It's like, you can have your opinion, that's fine. But dislike the character. Once you start disparaging the human, like, I can think that a storyline is stupid. And I can say this storyline is stupid. But I ground myself in saying that, especially if it's WWE, this person probably don't got to say. That's just what it is. It's not a secret. We know. It's okay. I don't criticize you. But I'm not going to disparage the human behind it because they probably looking at themselves on screen like, I know too. I hate this. So I honestly, I don't know. I have nothing else to say on that because I'm going to keep making myself laugh.
I mean, but at least you've gotten attention though. Like, that's good.
I know Brandy Rhodes has seen it once because she asked me to change a thing on it because I had swear words in it because I love to swear. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm a sailor in a new life. So I'm pretty sure other people have. But again, sometimes I feel like if you don't get my humor, you might think I'm dead ass about it. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have swore. Maybe, can I swear?
It's okay. Yeah.
I don't want you to think I'm serious. Like, I'm not seriously upset that Roman Reigns is still the champion. This is the best run of his life. But as a fan, if I was reacting, he's a bad guy. Of course I want the bad guy to lose. Come on, what's that clicking statement?
Exactly. So I just really love, that you've been able to actually get some of that attention, whether it's been, for the positive from people or from the negative. I mean, at least you're getting their attention. And Zelina Vega is one of my favorites. Like, I love her.
Same.
I love her so much.
The fashion together, the mouthpiece together, everything about Zelina Vega, New York girl to New York girl. Yes, she's the one. Yeah, she is the one. I just wish WWE would let her wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, someone's opinion can change on a wrestler. All it takes is one match if you let them go out there and wrestle. That's all you got. Look at Wheeler Yuta. Sometimes you just gotta let people wrestle. And I want more people to love Zelina Vega the way I love Zelina Vega.
And she actually follows me too. But that was from a post I made about her shaving Malachi Black's hair. And also from me making Aaliyah posts about her. Because she loves to show love to Aaliyah all the time.
Yeah,
and it's so beautiful.
And she loves Naruto too. She is such, like, on the outside looking in, I see someone like Zelina Vega. It's like, you are probably one of the biggest nerds. Who's so down to earth, so chill. And when you're on TV, this way you can be that, like, I love it. I'm getting worked up. I love it.
Yeah, I love her too. Like, I really love her, and I want the absolute best for her. I always do. So, Zelina, if you're ever watching this or if you ever see this, know that we love you.
The
You
best,
are
the
our
greatest.
queen. You are our queen, and we love you. So, who would you say are your top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time? Male, female, or non-binary?
Oof. This is the question that's always the controversy, because people are like, oh, you cannot not have this person. You cannot not have this person. But I'm going to go with my favorite. We're going to go with my number one of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is that guy, largely because what that storyline with Vince McMahon was relatable, especially now that I've gotten older. Have you ever wanted to just beat your boss's butt? Have you ever just wanted to shake the shit out of him?
Yes.
You know you can't. But Stone Cold did it for all of us.
Right.
Terrorized his boss for all of us. Thank you, Stone Cold. We appreciate
To this
you.
day.
Number 2 has got to go to China.
Yeah.
At the time, nobody looked like that. And I always thought it was strange. People don't bring up that she was the only woman to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Right.
She was the girl. And the way that things shook out with WWE breaks my heart to this day. But China, to me, China was the prototype. China was the prototype. She was the girl. China was the girl. In 3, we got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because we share a birthday, May 2nd. And also,
cool.
like, I respect the hustle. I respect it. I respect it. I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. I respect it. In 4th place, we have Becky Lynch, for the same reasons that we mentioned earlier. Watching her after coming back into the wrestling, I never heard her was when she was the last kicker. But when she did that promo and said, for weeks I've been tapping people out. I want my title shot. And Carmella was with James. I was like, I don't care. You get it, but you gonna lose. 2 weeks before that, Charlotte Flair come because Vince McMahon tell her she gotta be in it. And then Becky loses.
Right.
I mean, then Charlotte Flair gets inserted. Becky pins Carmella. Charlotte Flair's like, nah. And then Becky Lynch is like, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
Right.
And to me, that's compelling because that's realistic. Like, everyone can relate to that. You ever been like, yo, I've been doing my job. I'm up for this promotion. Nepotism baby is not here. It's me. I got this. And here come nepotism babies like stand aside. And now you pissed. Mm-hmm. I was believable. And I was so happy. And on top of that, the way that she was able to rock it, because at that time it was supposed to be Ronda versus Charlotte, and that's what we wanted all along. The way that Becky was able to be like, you cannot and you will not deny me, the respect through the roof. That's literally the you will not deny me. No matter who was out. I remember watching for a year, everyone just chanted Becky. It didn't matter if Seth was wrestling. It didn't matter if Drew, Roman, they were all chanting Becky. It did not matter. And I'd never seen people do that for a woman. Ever. And fantastic. And for the 5th spot is always hard because there's so many people that I consider about putting in that spot. Like, yes, I like The Undertaker, what he did for the business. There are people like I could say that I like what you did for the business. Then I think of all the Black women that I enjoy personally that don't get enough shine. I'm like, I want to put Ember Moon is one of them. Sasha Banks is another one. And I'm like, okay, but then that's discrediting some of your favorite tag teams. My respect for the Briscoes and the FTR go up in the air. So I just got a top 4. And everyone else is 5th because I love them. I love professional wrestling so much. It's like, come here. I love you all of you. But these are the 4 that I like the most. But the rest of you, come here. Come. Yes, very nice.
Well, I definitely respect that. That's one of the most unique answers I've ever gotten to that question, but I actually appreciate it. Because even though you may not, like the character or you may love the character, you ultimately love them all because they put everything on the line for us, to entertain us. And ultimately you want, if they don't do anything or say anything, problematic outside of wrestling, you love them all. So that's basically how I feel. That's where I'm at. So I definitely get that. I understand it. I get it perfectly. So what would you say the future holds for you, Cresta?
I would like, and I'm all about manifesting. I wish you could see right above my ring light. I have a mantra that says blessings from above, wisdom from the right, perseverance from below, and courage from the left.
Wow.
I am manifesting because I said it when I was younger. I want to be famous, and I want to have my own talk show. Or at least want to be on television. I would love to do a valet manager role, or at least commentary, because I've never seen a woman do commentary for professional wrestling. I ain't never seen a Black woman do commentary for professional wrestling. And wouldn't it be a gag? Wouldn't it be like funny if I did it? So I'm manifesting that. That's what the future holds for Cresta. I would love to maybe do some improv comedy. That'd be fun, dip a little toe, Saturday Night Live if you want to take a pull. I'm ready. I'm ready to explore my creative wings. And I have to thank wrestling and video games so much for that. Because if I can believe that these ragtag group of people can save the world from the past, and if I can watch a boy and a smaller boy wrestle with their dinosaur, or an undead group of them called Decay, I could do anything I want.
Exactly.
I could do anything I want, and I'm gonna believe it. Or like 50 Cent said, get rich or die trying. So I don't plan on dying anytime soon, so somebody pay me.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. And I also love the fact that you're manifesting these things. I believe in that too, because it's just like you have to work for the things that you want. Otherwise, it won't come to you. So
True.
I absolutely believe in that. And I love how you have that, above and all the things that you need physically and emotionally and spiritually in order for that to happen. And I believe you can make it happen because you have the personality for it. Now, in terms of commentary, though, maybe one day me and you will commentate, because I actually commentate too. So, maybe me and you, we'll get together and, we can do it together, because it's just like Black women on commentary. That is something that is missing. So maybe one day we will do that thing, and it'll be fun.
I love that. It'd be a laugh. It'll be a hoot and nanny.
Yes, definitely. I'll be JR, you'll be Jerry the King Lawler. In another way. In another way.
I'll be Sideshow Bob for $500, Alex. Thank you.
Yes, it would be fun. It would be really fun. So either way, I believe it can happen because you have it all. You have the personality for it. You have the passion. You have it all, and I believe in you. But Cresta, thank you so much for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So if you would just tell everybody where they can find you and follow you at this time, and tell everybody what you got going on, then you can do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hardy Podcast, for having me. My name is Cresta Starr. You can find me on twitter.com at Cresta the Starr, like Megan the Stallion, Cresta the Starr, 2 E's. There is a link tree in my bio where you can find all the things that I do, whether it's Twitter, TikTok, or Twitch. Everywhere you can find Cresta Starr. That's CRESTA STARR. You will find me. And I also host the post-Impact show on Fightful every Thursday after Impact at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, pull on up to that. I appreciate you having me. This has really been an honor. Thank you.
All right, so I just want to thank Cresta Starr for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I was so happy to have her, and she is just an incredible talent that I've just had the pleasure of watching grow over the past couple of months, and I just can't wait to see what she's doing next with her video gaming and with her wrestling content. Like, seriously, she is amazing, as you heard, and I just loved having her on and talking to her. It was a very enjoyable conversation. But right now, I want to talk about my experience at Alabama Comic-Con this past weekend. Well, last weekend, actually. So basically, I started going to Alabama Comic-Con like years ago, I believe 2019, I want to say. That was the first time I ever went, and I cosplayed as Captain Marvel. And I met Ric Flair there as well, and that was really cool. He was nice, and yeah, it was great. And then of course the pandemic happened, so that kind of derailed everything for like 2020. But then 2021 I went last year, and it was great, and I was actually able to participate in a panel, and I got to meet Booker T and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, while she was the AEW World's Women's Champion, and I got to say hey to Sting. So I got to be on the panel with Lucid Endeavors and Burma Slam, so that was really cool. So this year, I was able to finally up the ante and participate with the Hardy Wrestling Podcast as its own entity and have a fan table. And I was right next door to the Blurred Over podcast table. Shout out to them. Skip, Ladarius, and Static and the crew. Just thanking them for all of their help, and they know, how they helped me. Thank you, for all of your help and everything. Setup was really crazy on Friday because I was in one spot, but then I moved to another spot. But I just wanted my fan table to look as engaging and as pretty as possible, while also giving off a wrestling fan vibe. Because of course I am a very feminine woman, and my podcast logo is of course a wrestling ring, but then it's surrounded by the colors pink and purple and blue with a black background. So I wanted to sort of accentuate that with the table and everything, while also having a lot of my pop figures and action figures that have to do with wrestling. I had of course my Bianca Belair WrestleMania 37 pop, my Becky Lynch Royal Rumble pop, and my Sensational Sherry action figure with one of my title belts, of course, a television playing my favorite matches and my interviews, and just so many other different knickknacks that I love and collected, for my wrestling fandom. And it was just a really nice endeavor to be able to participate in. I talked to a lot of various wrestling fans. I talked to people who cosplayed as wrestlers, such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Jonathan, who had probably the most impressive cosplay as Sting with the big gold world heavyweight title belt. Like, that was really cool, and I really enjoyed his cosplay, and I loved getting to know him as we stood in line to meet Trish Stratus. And I also got to, engage with children. I love, participating in conventions like this and seeing how much fun the children are having. And to have children come to my table and want to take a picture with the belt and everything and look like champions or whatever, and even pose with me, was just one of the coolest things I got to do. Like, I love kids. I just love children so much, and it's just like seeing their joy in, participating in stuff like this. It's just always amazing. So a lot of the pictures are up on my Instagram and my Facebook as well, so please check that out. But I believe, you guys sort of came to hear me talk about my special experience. So Saturday, I was at my table, and I didn't have my table alone. I was with my boyfriend. Shout out to Jock for manning the table while I was gone to do fan things. So the fan things I got to do was, of course, stand in line for the meet and greet to meet WWE Hall of Famers Trish Stratus and Lita. And Mickie James was also there, but I had met her previously at NWA Weekend for Empower, and I was working media for Women's Wrestling Talk, and I got to interview her. Please go on Women's Wrestling Talk's YouTube channel and watch that interview. It was really great, and she was nice to me, and we took pictures together and everything. So I did speak to her, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So Saturday, I got in line to meet Trish, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, the closer we got to the table, I just could not believe I was actually about to meet her. And I was in line with some amazing people. There was also this one guy who I believe is a rapper who's on the up and up. And yeah, like, it was just really great to stand in line with all the people who I had met, either previously or at that convention. And so the closer we got to the line, I was to the table, I was just like, oh my God, there she is. Like, Trish is really small, but she was being kind to everyone, and she was talking to everyone, signing their stuff and everything. And the Comic-Con staff was really nice and everything too. So I asked asked one of the ladies who was working the table, like, well, you think it would be okay if I gave her my business card? And she was like, yeah, I don't think it should be a problem. And I was like, okay. So when it was my turn to meet her, like, my brain didn't melt the way that I thought it was going to melt. So she hugged me and she immediately noticed my podcast shirt. I sell my podcast t-shirts on TeePublic /HWP store. So if you want to buy one, go ahead. But she noticed my podcast t-shirt immediately. And I was just like, oh my God, this is happening. So I told her, you know, what I do in wrestling. I told her about the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I told her about my work with Women's Wrestling Talk. And I also told her about my commentary work with the Belladonna division here. And she looked like she was just so, you know, attentive and really impressed with this, what I'm doing. And she thought it was so cool how I had my fingers, you know, in the business. And I was just like, oh my God, this is great. And she gave me like 2 hugs, and as she hugged me, I believe the second time, she told me, you know, how amazing it is to see women, you know, sort of getting their fingers into the business in other ways outside of being an athlete, and just so many encouraging things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so great. And I just appreciated it, you know, coming from her. And I was actually able to tell her, you know, how inspirational she has been, you know, throughout the course of my life, because I've been watching her forever. Like, it's like I told her and Lita, like, they both raised me. So watching her succeed and be a champion and fight the likes of Victoria and Jazz and Jacqueline and so many other women and stuff like that, you know, and then getting to meet her was just really cool. And then just tell her, you know, how much she means to me. So that was amazing. And we hugged and it was awesome. And I gave her my business card. And then she told me, you know, once I post the selfie that we took, I should tag her in it so, you know, she can like it and interact with it there. And I'm just like, okay, cool. So I posted a picture, we did that, and it was so great. And I just loved the experience that we had. And I ran into Static, who was in line to meet her, and I was just like, oh my God, I met her, and I did a Holy Ghost dance, and he was laughing and we were laughing, and it was cool. So it was just amazing, and I was just so happy to do that. Then later on in the day, I had to go to an ATM across the street to the Sheraton Hotel. Shout out to the Sheraton, because they're a really nice hotel. You know, they've been in downtown for like ever. So I went and got some more money, and I got in line to meet Lita, and I was so happy to meet her, but I was also scared to meet her at the same time, because of course my last name is Hardy, and you know, if you're a wrestling fan, you know everything that happened with that. But I was just like, you know, there's no relation. I'm just going to go up there and meet her in my podcast shirt and let the chips fall where they're made. And she was really nice to me too. And I loved her arm tattoo. And I told her how much I loved her Elimination Chamber match with Becky Lynch. Even though I made the mistake of saying that it happened last year, even though it happened this year, a lot of wrestling has taken place this year. And it's hard to kind of it's hard to keep track of it sometimes, because you watch so much wrestling at a time that you feel like all the years just sort of meld together the older you get, you know, but it's whatever. I told Lita, you know, how she basically raised me and how inspirational she is, and how I just love seeing, you know, her inspiration sort of show up in other wrestlers, such as, you know, Bailey, and such as like Alba Fire, and just so many different women. Like, it's just so cool to watch, you know, these women, you know, succeed, and then they go on and do whatever it is that they want to do after wrestling. And then you see so many women come after them and get inspired, you know, by the things that they do. So I got to tell her that, and that was really cool. So I gave her my business card too, and that was cool, and they were really nice, and I was just really happy about that. But then while I was in line to meet Lita, Mickie James was right next to her table, and I said hey to her, and she recognized me once I told her, you know, who I was. I told her I was Stephanie, and I was at NWA weekend, and I interviewed you with Women's Wrestling Talk. And she was like, oh yeah, I remember you. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, it's good to see you. And I was like, it's good to see you too. And I said, this is my hometown. And she was just like, really? And I was like, yeah. She said, the last time I was here in Birmingham, I was getting my knee fixed. And I said, did you go to St. Vincent's Hospital to get your knee fixed? And she was like, yeah. And I said, yeah, that's where I was born. It was so cool to say that, because yeah, St. Vincent's is where babies come from, right? If you know, you know. But yeah, like that's where I was born. And also a lot of the wrestlers would come up to St. Vincent's because the surgeon that would work on them was Dr. James Andrews, and he's retired now, but he used to work, but he's like a really big name in sports medicine. And the wrestlers would always come down here to get fixed. And anytime they would get fixed, they would give like a poster to the sports medicine office and have it autographed. And sometimes I would see it whenever I would go to like the kids section of the hospital or whatever when I was a kid. So I would, play like I would look for the wrestlers, like, is anybody there? Is anybody there? But of course, they wouldn't let you in. But, we would pass by and see the poster of Triple H and stuff at the hospital. So that was cool. And of course, the sports medicine wing is now named after James Andrews now. So shout out to him, wherever you are. Shout out to you, and thank you for working and helping the wrestlers get better and, get back out there and stuff. So yeah, just knowing that Mickie James even came down here to get fixed is just really cool. So that happened. So that was my Saturday. I got to meet so many other amazing wrestling fans and amazing people who listened to the show, especially Lauren. Like, shout out to her and the cosplay that she had. She was dressed up like the ninja version of the yellow Power Ranger with her yellow mask and everything. Like, that was amazing, and I was just so happy to meet her. And I was so happy to meet Megan of the Leaf, I think that's her Instagram name. I got to meet her, and she was like really beautiful and really encouraging and stuff. So that was amazing. It was just a really great experience Saturday. But then Sunday is really when everything went down. So Sunday I went back to do the table thing by myself this time. Boo Thang was overwhelmed. He needed to lay down, so he had to chill out. So I had to, do it. And shout out to the introverts out there. I know it's a struggle, but that I'm thankful for my boyfriend for helping me as much as he did. So Sunday I went back by myself, and, I was sitting at the table, just chilling, talking to the fans or whatever and everything, and talking to everybody next door and stuff. And finally I was, about to get ready to go to the panel, the women's wrestling panel that Trish, Lita, and, Mickie were having, and it was moderated by Matt of Humble Enterprises. Shout out to Matt Rodriguez. He was very helpful in the picture taking and stuff like that, and he was moderating the entire thing and stuff, and it was a really great crowd of people who came to the panel. Like, it was so great to see that many people come to hear these women talk about wrestling. Like, I was really happy about that. So I had on my podcast shirt yet again still, but I was gonna come up there and ask a question like with everybody else as a fan, and I was just gonna be like that. And that was it. So I raised my hand and I asked, and I was getting ready to ask my question. But as soon as I stood up and said, "Hi, my name is Stephanie," Trish Stratus put me on the spot and said, "And she has a wrestling podcast." And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? This is happening? Like, I just started laughing and freaking out, as a nervous reaction, because I was like, whoa, like, she remembered me like that. And Matt was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm a host of a wrestling podcast here in Alabama. And he was like, well, okay then. And he told me, well, since you have experience, being a host, go up on the stage and ask their question and introduce yourself, as you're walking up on the stage. And I'm just like, oh my God, are you serious? Okay. So I take the microphone from him. He lets me have the microphone. And I introduce myself and I say, my name is Stephanie Hardy. I'm the host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I'm a co-host of Women's Wrestling Talk on Twitch. And I'm a commentator for the Belladonna division. And everybody, was just, nice and polite or whatever. But I felt weird because I was like, oh my God, I'm standing up here like I'm somebody, when I really just came as a fan with everybody else. Like, I'm just, oh my God, this is crazy. So I sit on the couch next to these women, these iconic, amazing women. Oh God, Lita is sitting next to me. And I asked them, so what was the best advice that anyone gave you at the beginning of your wrestling career? And they said that it was a good question, and I was just, and they answered it. And I can't even remember the answer because I can't even remember their answers. And I feel bad because I was just so nervous, but I was still trying to compartmentalize my nervousness and sort of utilize them to sort of push myself forward, you know, like my mom taught me how to do. And I was just like, okay, you know, I just couldn't believe that I was sitting up there with them and they answered the question. But then weirdly enough, Mickey and Trish asked the question back at me. And and that's been happening to me a lot lately on my interviews where I'll ask a question and then the person I'm interviewing will ask the question back at me to see what my answer is. So I answered it and I mentioned that the best advice that I had gotten from, you know, as I've started my podcasting and wrestling career was from Janelle from HR from the Jobber Tears podcast, who I get to meet next week. I told them that she told me that I have to be true to myself and speak my truth, and that the right audience will find me and stick with me regardless of what my truth is. And I told them that this sort of came from me struggling to sort of figure out whether I should talk about certain issues that affect the Black community, especially in the wake of the George Floyd protests that happened in 2020 as well. I struggled with talking about it on my show previously because I was just building my audience and I didn't want to necessarily offend people, but I did know that as a Black woman, it was affecting me and everyone that was surrounded by me, you know, that is of African descent. And it was a very painful time. And I felt that it was important for me having a platform to discuss it, but I was scared to at first because I didn't want to, you know, offend anybody or have somebody come at me with the energy of, oh no, just shut up and talk about wrestling, or the whole shut up and dribble thing, you know, like I didn't want that, but I wanted to be true to myself. And Janelle told me, like, look, you have to be true to yourself and the right people will listen to you. And I've sort of taken that and, you know, done what I can with it. And here I am, you know, 97 episodes, 98 episodes. There we go. 98 episodes in. And, you know, I've just been speaking my truth for as much as I can without, you know, seeking to hurt anybody or seeking to be negative or something like that. And they liked that answer. And I was just like, okay, so yeah, and they let me sit up there with them as they asked, you know, the questions as they answered everybody else's questions. And I just couldn't believe that they let me, you know, sit up there with them. It just felt like, it was just surreal because these are women that I've watched my whole life. Like I remember when Mickie James wanted to be best friends with Trish Stratus and wound up going crazy on her and beating her up because she wanted them to be more than friends. And she took the women's title from her at WrestleMania 22. I remember watching Trish Stratus, you know, fight all of the women that I previously mentioned, including Lita, and main eventing, you know, that Monday Night Raw. And Lita almost, you know, breaking her neck, if not breaking her neck in that match. I remember Trish retiring. Like, I remember all of that. Like, I remember Trish fighting Charlotte, you know, more recently at SummerSlam a couple years back. Like, I remember all of that. So it's just like, and then I remember Lita, you know, setting the table on fire, you know, in that match with Edge and Mick Foley. Like, I remember all of that craziness. So to be in the room, you know, with them, sitting next to them, even, you know, after seeing all of that, you know, with the fourth wall and everything, growing up as a child, watching these women get inducted into the Hall of Fame, watching Mickie James be an executive producer and, you know, making history, you know, participating in the Royal Rumble this year as the Knockouts Women's Champion and being the first person to do that. Like, watching all of that happen and watching these women be in the same room with me, it's surreal. It is absolutely surreal. Like, I still feel like, even though I work really hard and even though, you know, you see me, you know, commentating, seeing me release episodes and stuff like that, I still feel like that little girl who was just watching wrestling with her dad. I still feel like that a lot of the time. I still feel like the fan who told everybody in my communications class that I was a wrestling fan. I still feel like that girl who was talking on the phone with her soon-to-be boyfriend about wrestling and us connecting, with that. Like, I still feel like that fan, in the audience. Like, I'm still that fan in the audience in many different ways, but now it's getting to the point now where the fourth wall is falling down little by little every other month, and it is the most astounding experience of my life. Like, this wasn't something I planned on doing with my life, but it's happening and I'm trying to run with it as best as I can. Sometimes I feel like it outruns me, and I have to run to try to catch up with it. But my mom always said to me, like, whenever you find whatever it is God has for you, it's gonna happen for you, and it's gonna happen real quick, and you're gonna have to keep up with it and try to balance it as much as you can. And that's how I feel like my wrestling career is taking place and blossoming. So to be in the same room and even sitting on the couch with them, talking to them on the microphone, in my regular tennis shoes that I bought from Academy, and my podcast t-shirt with my scarf on my head because I didn't feel like doing my hair that day, was just absolutely amazing. And it just goes to show you, like, hard work pays off, number one, and number two, whatever God or whatever higher power has for you, it's gonna be for you regardless of what you look like, regardless of where you're from, regardless of what your past was, and regardless of everything. Like, what is for you is for you. And I'm just so happy that I can be, an inspiration and a light, in the world for that. And I'm so grateful for all of the good, comments that I've gotten on all my pictures that I've posted from it, especially the one of me and Mickey James posing in front of my podcast logo at my table. Like, she came to my table. She didn't have to do that. Like, after I said hey to her and asked her, how she's doing and stuff like that, she didn't have to do that, but she did that. And, like, moments like that, you just don't ever forget. And these are like the holy trinity. This is like the holy trinity of women's wrestling. They did not have to do this for me. They didn't have to let me, be up there with them, but they did. And I'm just really grateful for that. I'm grateful for Matt for letting it happen, and Humble Enterprises for letting it happen. And for Comic-Con, I just had such a good experience there, eating the food, talking to the people and everything. And hopefully I get to do more of it, because even next week when I go to Brooklyn, I hope I get to interact with other fans and other wrestlers even more so. But I'm just so grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for what happened, and I'm even more grateful for those ladies for opening, using their power to open up to listen to me, and for me to have an open mind to listen to them. And anytime they want to work with me, I'm open to it. Like, if y'all ever want to start a podcast and y'all want to co-host, call me. Y'all know where I'm at. Call me, please. Message me, do that. I'm happy to do it at all costs. Or if you guys want to pop on for maybe a few minutes or a few seconds on my podcast, please do. That would be great. Or even if you don't ever do that, and even if we might not ever cross paths again, I still thank you for that one weekend we did. I'm just really grateful, y'all. I'm so happy. And of course, if you missed the pictures, you can always go on Instagram and on my Twitter and check out those pictures. And on my Facebook and check out those pictures as well. It was just a blessed time. I loved being at Alabama Comic-Con. I love interacting with other wrestling fans, with them seeing my work and stuff. And I just love wrestling and where it's taken me. And I hope that it continues to take me even further. So, yeah, that's just me talking about my Alabama Comic-Con experience. We're moving on up, y'all. It was very emotional. I cried afterward in my dad's arms. It was serious. Literally, me and him started watching wrestling at my grandma's house when he was taping wrestling back to back on VHSs. And now there's no more VHSs for real. You can't really tape wrestling, but there's DVR. And now I'm almost 29 years old, and I'm meeting my wrestling heroes. And I'm actually in a place where I can meet them and talk to them, and they actually want to listen to me. It's insane. It's really insane, but I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to y'all for listening to my podcast and for listening to me ramble about this. I'm just really grateful. I'm so grateful. So that's the end of my Comic-Con experience. And yeah, I hope that when you meet your heroes, you have the same experience and it's as joyful and as happy and as loving as my experience was. Okay, so I was sitting with my friends one day and they asked me, Stephanie, how do you record your podcast? And I said, with the Anchor app on my phone. And they were like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it's that simple. It is absolutely free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone and your computer. And it will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's got everything you need to make a podcast in one place. They even have classes and stuff that you can listen to that will give you all kinds of good tips on what you need to do in order to make the best podcast. So if you want to do this, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm or download the free Anchor app to get started. All right, so thank you for listening to this new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. We're getting closer to 100 episodes, y'all. I'm so excited. So next week, I don't think I'll have a new episode, or I might just be posting videos because I'll be in Brooklyn, New York for Black WrestleFest being held by Pretty Heels and sponsored by a lot of amazing wrestling podcasts and a lot of amazing wrestling schools and everything in the New York area and beyond. I'm so excited to be going, but that's basically what's going to be happening next week. So I'm going to be posting pictures. So be on the lookout for those, and I might have interviews or experiences there. But as far as a formal episode, I won't be having that. But just know that you can support the Hardy Wrestling Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And of course, you can follow the YouTube channel at The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, because I changed the name because I found that at Alabama Comic Con, every time I told people to find my YouTube channel, they kept running into Matt and Jeff. And I understand that always happens because the last name, but it's a difference. So if you type in The Hardy Wrestling Podcast in the search bar on YouTube, you should find my channel. It's the pink, purple, and blue logo that's in the shape of a wrestling ring. It has HWP in the middle. That's the one. So please subscribe to my channel. Check out all of my interviews and stuff. I also have audio versions of the podcast on there as well, of my episodes and my interviews. So please check those out. And also follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. That's HARDYWRESTLE Pod, Pod, on Twitter. And also follow your girl Stephanie Hardy on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. And you can find the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Facebook as well. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you for those who came to visit my table at Alabama Comic Con. And of course, if you're in the New York area, come visit my setup for the Hardy Wrestling Podcast at Black WrestleFest. And if you can't visit, just know that I am never too far away. So please find me on social media and listen to me chop it up about wrestling and all of the other amazing things that I'm into. So until next time, this is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. And of course, the theme song, Steph's theme, was performed by Josiah Williams, aka Mr. Wrestle and Flow. See you later. Bye, y'all. Be healthy and be safe. Bye, y'all.